All right. Dave Hardy Jr., thank you for coming to Shed Talk.
Well, Elliot, Mr. Bear, thank you so much for having me.
I appreciate that, man. All right, so Dave Hardy Jr., let me just give you guys a little introduction to Dynamite Dave Hardy Jr. right here. Dynamite is the announcer for Bayou Fighting Championship. Among many other MMA organizations, he is the ring announcer. He does announcing for football games, high school, or at least he used to, right?
Yep.
He's done basketball. He's done wrestling, professional wrestling,
Pro wrestling, bodybuilding, kickboxing, boxing, MMA. Yes, sir.
Yeah, man. So the list of promotions that he is affiliated with is just like
Takes two arms.
Takes 2 arms to fill it up. So it's not hard to go out there and find some video of old Dynamite cutting loose in the cage, breaking it down, really, getting the fans interested and excited in the fighter. So coming from a fighter who understands that entertainment value is important in our sport, and to see the way you captivate the show really, it makes our job a lot easier. It actually gives us a platform to be entertaining because we have somebody with such a entertainment value that's presenting us. So it makes it easy for guys it comes natural to kind of feed off of that. So I just want to tell you thank you, and
Hey, look, it takes a ton of courage to do what you guys do, even more so than what I do as a fighter. Because think about it, you're going out there in the ultimate proving ground. You're stepping into the cage with another man across from you, and your only mission, both of you, is to beat that guy. So not only are you out there performing in front of a large crowd, which terrifies a lot of people. A lot of people don't care to be in front of a big audience, but you are putting that machismo, that swagger, you kind of putting that on the line, because we all know, we lost a schoolyard scrap or two when we were kids, and man, it hurts the pride. So to do that in front of your family and your peers, and we're willing to put all that on the line, man, that's amazing what you guys do. I get out there, fall down, drop a microphone, no big deal.
Yeah.
With you guys, it's a lot different.
I appreciate that recognition. Thank you, Dynamite. All right. So now that we kind of got to know Dynamite a little bit more, I want to recommend a podcast. It's called the Bench Warmer Podcast. If you haven't heard it, you need to watch it. This man is on that podcast with, who's the host?
Kevin Harris is the host of the Bench Warmers.
Kevin Harris. I watched Kevin Harris and Dave Hardy's podcast, and it's amazing. If you want to know a little bit more about Dynamite, please go watch that, because it is fabulous and a lot of fun. So
the maniacal maestro of the microphone, old Dynamite.
I love it. Thank you. All right. So I was going to go and run you down my normal Shed Talk questions and ask you about, your career, your biggest achievement, blah, 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 blah. And I was going to do that until I realized that all my questions were wrong. And I was like, so I started hearing, and this is a little bit more of a personal side, and to me it's more valuable, and it's more significant than any dynamite that you can blow up on stage. And that is that you have coached at least 5 different sports that I counted, and probably more than that. You've coached your daughters who are the age of?
My youngest just turned 10 in June. My oldest made 13 in February.
And Dynamite has coached soccer, t-ball, volleyball,
basketball, softball. We've done it all. I started with my oldest daughter when she was 4 years old. And, you and your dad were having a little conversation. You and your dad and I were having a little conversation about this. It's just trying to expose kids like what you're doing with your fitness camps, man. I really love that, Elliot, because so many kids nowadays, because we have so much electronic and indoor entertainment, and physical education, PE, is not pushed as hard as it used to be in my generation and the generation before me. So some kids just don't get the exposure to athletics to even know if it's something they would fall in love with. So with my daughters, just always trying to set the example and say, hey, if nothing else, if your dad can do it, you can do it. So I started with my oldest daughter, Kinsley, when she was 4 years old in soccer. I didn't know anything about soccer, but hey, you got 4-year-olds, run, kick the ball, let's have a little fun. And then my youngest daughter got going, and over time, I got to realize how much I enjoyed it. Because not only am I helping to shape my daughters into the women they're going to become to be one day, but also all the other kids, all the other boys and girls in my community. I remember coaches when I was a kid playing Pee Wee football and Little League baseball And some of those things, some of the impact that they had, I still carry to this day.
Yeah.
I've still got some memories of what I learned then. So if I can be that figure, maybe they just hang on to one or two things that old Coach Dave taught them. If I can make an impact to help mold those kids, and man, I've done my job.
Man, that's awesome. Beautifully put. So let me ask you, man, I was going to ask you a question, but I went blank. All right. So that's a great answer. That's a kind of a similar reason why, you know, I respect what my dad did as a wrestling coach of
Mm-hmm.
kids, and he would really take the time to mentor the kids that didn't have dads, and I as the son of a coach was like, man, hey, I want some attention, you know, I need some of that. I want you to.
Man, I can
treat me
tell
like
you
that.
from a coach's standpoint, there's no better feeling, and it's not anything necessarily physical that I could write it down and tell you to look for this, but there's a moment with a kid when you're teaching them something in a sport, a technique, how to hit the ball, how to throw the ball, how to catch the ball, and you see in the beginning they're just going through the motions because, hey, the adult told me to, so that's what I'm doing. They're not sure why they're doing it. But when you see it actually click and then they understand why they're doing what you told them to, man, it makes you feel so good. It's like, wow, I was able to get through. I got this kid. They know what they're doing, so it's all downhill from here. And man, when you see that change, when you see it click in that child, it makes you feel so good. It really does.
That's awesome. Yeah, and you know, I feel like there's a level of that makes, you know, the 5 days a week of doing that, or, you know, and Dynamite 7 days a week. He's
Never stops, man.
He's sometimes on the road all weekend doing 2 shows a weekend, and then he's, you know, practicing maybe 4 or 5 days a week with his kids and holding a full-time job.
Got a 9 to 5 as well.
And man, to just hear that, and the amount of time that you put into, you know, your craft, and to see the results, which is the performance, you know, at the events, are just it's inspiring. I mean, it's 100% completely inspiring, and because I didn't know all these things about you when I would see you as Dynamite, but now that I'm starting to like kind of get a here on Coach Dave, I'm like, whoa, dude, you know. And so, man, I didn't even. That's amazing, man. I appreciate it.
Well, there's kind of what I do. There's 2 ways that you can achieve your goals and make it in the big time, whatever you want to call it. One is that Cinderella moment. You show up to a venue, to an arena, you do what you always do, and the right person, man that owns a production company, the man that owns a big UFC style promotion, or the man that owns a radio station or something like that, and sees you, or woman, and sees you and says, hey, I need that guy. That Cinderella moment, just like a band that plays in all the big clubs and casinos, hoping that record producer is in the audience one night. So there's always that slim chance, that Cinderella moment. The other way for somebody like me to achieve your goals or your dreams is just hard work, man. And that's one thing I can promise you, I'll outwork anybody out there. You know, 2 in the morning, 3 in the morning, 2 shows a weekend, 3 shows a weekend, driving 6 hours, no sleep, so be it. I love what I do, and I think you can see that in my performance a lot of time. It comes out, and nothing's going to stop me. I feel like I'm pretty good at what I do, and I know talent alone won't get you there, so I'm just going to keep grinding. Hard work will pay off.
And we're going to keep promoting, and we're going to keep pushing for Dynamite to get whatever he wants coming. I mean, you deserve it, man. You really do.
I don't know about deserving, but man, I do. I work real hard, and I do. It comes from my heart, because I really want to entertain the fans. I want folks, when they come out to a show, to enjoy themselves as much as I do. I want them to feel like, hey, you know, I spent 50, 100, 150 bucks tonight, 200 bucks tonight, but man, it was worth every penny. And the flip side of it is guys like yourself. You guys are getting in that cage like we alluded to earlier. You're putting it all on the line in front of friends, family, your community, your training partners. And I want you guys to have that big field, because you never know, for you, for me, this regional level, this might be as big as it gets. So hey, let's make this our UFC every time we go out there. Let's make this our WrestleMania moment. Let's do it. So I try to provide that for you fighters as well. There is no, well, the first couple fights, it's their first fight ever. I'll take it easy on that one. Then when we get to the main event, Dynamite's gonna crank it up. No, man, we're starting up here and we're staying up here all night. Because each and every fight on that card, man, your mom, your dad, your uncle, your grandpa might have bought a ticket to come support you. I want them to see you at your biggest and your best. So I try to provide that for the fighters as well as the fans.
That's awesome, man. I totally see that about it, and about you and the way you move, and that's awesome, man. Thank you. Keep up the good work. All right. So now we're gonna get on to some Shed Talk questions.
All right, now we're getting into the meat here. Let's cut this steak fresh off the grill. All right,
Let's do
first
it.
bite.
All right. What is the craziest fight that you've ever announced for? The craziest fight that you witnessed and was like, whoa.
There's been some good ones, man. We've had some humdingers, some slobber knockers, a lot of hooking and jabbing, scooping and slamming, hanging and banging. And one that comes to mind just because of the audience we have right here is you and Yadier Devay at Capital City Fight Night at the Lamar Dixon Expo Center over there. You guys came in, man, and went at each other like two Mack trucks on a quarter-mile drag strip pointing at each other. It was hammered down, excuse my language, balls to the wall, and you guys went at it. And you could see after the first round when you had let that power unleashed on each other, technique was out of the window, buddy. It was all, hey, man on man. It was all heart and determination. That fight was absolutely fantastic, Elliot. Now, I'm sorry you didn't come out on the winning ways that night. But man, you guys just went out there with pure grit and let it all hang out inside the cage. And it was fantastic to watch, man. It was a fan-friendly fight. It was a lot of fun. And it showed the metal that you guys, you cut from a different mold. And it really showed it that night. I've had a few other really good ones. Now, as far as wild, I guess with a crazy effect, you hate to see it, but this is a dangerous sport. The injuries are prevalent all the time. And I can remember too, man, we had a young fella, Jonathan King, had the horrible leg break at an AKA show in Shreveport. He came around to do a leg kick, and I mean, almost a mirror image of what happened to Anderson the Spider Silva. Broke his leg. Luckily, we had a great doctor on staff, was able to set that, get him his leg, his heel, he's doing quite better. We had another bad injury years ago at the Golden Nugget in Biloxi, Mississippi with Atlas Fights. Okay. A young man by the name of DK Woods was fighting Rowdy Robert Turnquest. Robert's going to try to snatch his arm back for the Kimura, the Americana lock. And right, I guess, at the moment he decided to give it that extra, DK decided to try to give it the extra jerk. And man, it was similar to an M80 firework. I mean, you heard it sound off across the arena. I made a beeline, started running to the cage because you knew it had just happened. And I mean, his elbow just snapped. He had to have metal, steel rods, so many screws to put all that back together. Another gruesome incident there. So as far as those, I've seen some pretty gruesome injuries, and you hate to see that, but we all know, and you guys know when you step into that cage, it could happen. And then, I guess another just really high-level fight that I was lucky to be a part of, one of his last pro fights, getting towards the end of his career, Rich No Love Clementi, fought for us at Global Fighting Alliance under Mr. Alan Gray. Joey Ancona was the referee that night. I'm pretty sure we did it at the Blackton Coliseum in Lafayette. If not, it was the Rapides Parish Coliseum in Alexandria. But he took on a fella, and I'm trying to remember his name. He co-authored Randy Couture's book. He was one of Randy Couture's personal trainers. And I tell you, him and Rich Clementi put on a show. It was as good as anything you've ever seen inside the UFC or the Bellator cage. And I remember that was still kind of early in my career. Just, man, I was on my seat jumping up and down. And I forget, people behind me can't see. We sit my butt back down. So that was a great one as well.
That's awesome. So how long have you been announcing?
I started MMA announcing in 2007. That's when I got started. Now, the whole announcing thing for me kind of got started back in high school, doing basketball for local high schools. My local high school, Ponchatoula High School, is where I went and graduated. Did PA announcing for our football team. So that's where it started for me, and slowly but surely I got lucky and fell into the MMA world back in 2007.
Yeah, that's awesome.
And from there, the legend of Dynamite has grown and blossomed, and here we are, man. Made it all the way to Shed Talk, right?
Made it all the way to Shed Talk.
All the way to Shed Talk, baby. The mountain she has been climbed.
I swear, Dave, look, I was so excited whenever you told me you were down to come do this, man. Because I've been, the speaking of that night that I fought Yadier, you came up and spoke with me and told me some things that resonated with me so much. And, I just, there are things that I know that are going to, possibly come true in the future but things that are going to help me to do what I have to do in this early part of my career to get to where I want to be in my career. Mm-hmm. And I want to thank you for giving me those kind words. And Yeah.
I try to do that, man, because I know throughout just my life and my career, sometimes just a kind word from a supporter, from a stranger, from somebody you know, and especially when you don't see it coming.
Yeah.
When they just walk up and say, hey, I want to tell you something real quick. Sometimes those words can resonate and really break through to where you know it's coming from the heart. You know that it's real. And that was why I took that opportunity that night. I mean, you had fought your heart out, kind of a tough loss, but I just wanted to make sure I let you know how I felt about what you do, because man, again, the entertainment factor you provide. I mean, you know me, I like to dance and cut up in the cage. When you come to the crowd on any night where I've hosted an event that you're fighting, that's normally the loudest pop of the night, because they're looking for Electric Avenue, baby, the boogaloo coming down. You got to do things as fighters. Look, there's 1,000, a million, 100 stud athletes in the world of MMA.
Right.
There's 1,000, a million, 100 great fighters out there. You've got to find something that'll separate you from the pack to help you get noticed, have that Cinderella moment, that guy or that lady out in the crowd. And you've got that with, coming to the ring, getting the crowd up, they're ready to see you fight. And the reckless abandon, the ruthless aggression you bring from the beginning of the fight, Elliot, there's so many guys that you'll never be able to coach that killer instinct into like you have. So right there, two aspects of this to take it to the next level, I think you were on top of right out of the gate. Now, man, I mean, hone your craft a little better. And that just comes from time in the gym, putting the work in, learn the techniques and the fighting a little better. And man, your future is bright. I mean, potential is unlimited, Elliot. I mean that.
Thank you, man. I appreciate
Absolutely.
that. You know, that Yair fight, I kind of want to touch on real quick. Man, I was so delusional in my everything, in my training, in my thought process, in my style. Like, I was wanting to put people in a pressure cooker, and I wanted to pressure, and just finish as quickly as possible. But after
and for a lot of guys, that works. Pressure creates mistakes all the time.
Yeah.
But when you step in there with another killer who's been in deep water.
Yeah, man. So I had to learn the hard way, that there's 3 rounds in a fight. And so you can tell a pretty significant difference in just the technique between the third and fourth one. And that was all because of the war that we went through. I could have finished the fight in the second round, possibly, if I would have probably had better cardio, or maybe not eaten that Chipotle. I don't know exactly which one it was, but I for sure, had some errors in my preparation. And so I'm glad that I learned from that so much, because I took 98 unanswered punches in the third round, and I don't know if anybody's ever. 10 unanswered punches is a lot. So 98 is significant. And if I would have never felt those 98 unanswered punches, there's no possible way I'd be where I'm at right now.
Well, that's part of the process of growing as a fighter, man. You've got to mature and start to believe in what your coaches are selling you. Because a lot of times I've seen you guys, and I do it myself, you kind of get full of yourself, and coach, don't tell me he's talking about, I knew better right here. So it's all part of just maturing as a fighter, man, and learning the game, learning how to hone your skills, and you're getting there. And one of the first steps to any of that is being able to self-reflect and say, hey, okay, I shouldn't have did that. I was wrong there. I need to do better. You've got to be able to tell yourself that. If you don't believe that, if you think you're, the greatest, untouchable, unstoppable, that's going to be a hard lesson to learn.
Yeah.
And I've done the same thing myself, man. Sometimes you get to reading your own press clippings and, dynamite, and then you got to realize, hey, you're just the MC, calm down, you're regional level, you ain't Bruce Buffer. So sometimes you got to kind of deflate the head a little bit, but that's what it takes to grow, man. You got to be able to look inward and see your own faults, and once you can admit to your own faults, then you can learn more. You can't teach anybody that knows everything, anything, right?
That's a good point, yeah.
If you know everything, how are you going to learn something?
Yeah.
So it's good that you've seen that, and that's just part of the growth process.
Yeah.
Again, keeps that upward potential swing with you unlimited.
Thank you, man. I appreciate that. All right, so I want to talk about you, Mr. Ring Announcer of the Year for what was the?
Really good company, and I'm so glad they started doing this. It's called Fight Book MMA. They've got a website, check them out. They're real similar to MMA Junkie, some other blogs and video logs out there, to where they keep you up to date on all the regional, all the big time MMA action. They cover a lot of pro wrestling on their site as well. They got a podcast, a show on YouTube called Sitting Ringside, where they interview a lot of regional fighters. And they're owned by the USA Today network, USA Today digital properties. So they're pretty big, got some backing, stay working with the Fight.tv app. But one of the things that I really liked about it, what benefits a guy like me, is they took the time to put this together. Okay, ring announcer, cut man of the year, fighter of the year. And as long as it's somebody that has somewhat of a media credentials, you can't nominate yourself. Somebody has to nominate you who has a blog or a newspaper post or something like that. And for little guys like me, it's hard to get any recognition. Everybody knows who Buffer is. Everybody knows Michael Williams and Jimmy Lennon and Large, but what about us guys? How do we separate ourselves from the pack? How do we get noticed, that notoriety? So for those guys to take the time, Mr. Roberto Villa, Rudy Lara, a lot of them that work there, to take the time and give us peons at the regional level a little opportunity to shine, man, can't tell you how much that means, because it does. That's just something hanging on the wall in my office, and that's something you can always say that, man, people took the time to vote for me, and you got a little something, a little accreditation for what you do. It means a lot, man.
I think I voted over 15 times, probably more than that. You know what I mean? I voted a few times. I was definitely keeping track of that.
And look, it was cool the first year, man. You know, Mike Kendall with Legacy. Legacy's a feeder league, had a television contract for a lot of years. They're on Fight Pass now. 11 votes. I missed it the first year. And this last year, I mean, thank you all so much. I ran away with it. And it does. It just gives you a little validity. It feels like, okay, I'm doing something right.
Absolutely.
I'm doing something right.
That's amazing. Awesome. Good job for that. All right, Dave, fruit. What's your favorite fruit?
Strawberries, man. Can't go wrong with strawberries.
I love it. I love strawberries. I usually eat strawberries with my oatmeal in the mornings. And I love strawberries. That's a good answer.
Well, I say the town I was born and raised in, we're known worldwide, strawberry capital of the world.
Right.
Got the Strawberry Festival, Ponchatoula, Louisiana. But that, not only that, I love strawberries.
You have a
man.
lot of fields out there?
Oh yeah, some of the best berries in the world, dude.
Really?
Bar none.
That's cool. Awesome. I didn't know that. All right. Thank you for that, Dave. All right. If you could pick between every human being that has ever done anything, okay?
Ooh, that's a big pool to choose from.
You could pick between any humans that ever done anything, and then you get to put another humans who never done anything. So two different humans in a cage, or in a fight, or in a boxing ring, or in a wrestling match, or maybe one-on-one in basketball.
That's right, we're painting with broad strokes here, folks.
Yeah. So if you could pick two people and you could deliver an introduction for two different people, who would it be and for what would be the event?
I guess coming from a pure announcer standpoint, Evander the Real Deal Holyfield, because you've got that break. Man, he's got so many in his name, so just to be able to draw out a big, long, fancy introduction, Evander the Real Deal Holyfield. And me coming up, man, as a little kid, I had my daughters hooked on him when they were younger. I'm a huge Hulk Hogan fan. One day, blow up the immortal Hulk Hogan. There you go.
So Hulk Hogan versus Evander Holyfield in a...
I don't think that'll be much of a fight, but hey, just coming from an announcer's standpoint, man, yeah.
I love it. Thank you. That's cool.
Now, my favorite fighter of all time in any sport ever, anything, Roy Jones Jr.
Oh, yeah.
Man, Roy Jones Jr. is the best, the GOAT, pound for pound. Any fighter ever, there doesn't get any better with me than Roy Jones Jr. Now, I've met him once or twice as he showed up at an MMA show, got to snap a quick pic, because that's another problem. When we have big celebrities or big stars come to these shows, I don't have time to run out and get a bunch of pictures with them, so when I get the opportunity, I'll snap a pic here and there, but I'm busy, I'm working still, running the show.
I'm sure you don't bring an assistant with you.
Exactly. So, I mean, I've met Roy once, years ago at an MMA show in Florida, and I say super nice guy, and I got to introduce him to the crowd, and I remember it made me feel good, when I got done introducing him, he kind of, "Ooh, man, who are you?" And I'm like, dude, you don't know what it meant for me just to introduce you to this crowd. That was a huge milestone moment for me, man.
That's a cool story, man.
So yeah, that was really cool getting to meet Roy. But yeah, Roy, he's it. He's the end-all, say-all with me.
That's awesome.
Roy Jones Jr.
I love it. Thank you for that. That was a perfect answer. All right, now to the weird questions.
Getting a little funky out there, ladies and gentlemen. Strap in, hang on to something. It's gonna get wild here in Shed Talk right now.
All right. Aliens.
Aliens.
Where are they? Who has them? What are they? No. Are they real? Are aliens real?
I think at some point in time it would be a little bit narcissistic for us to believe that we are the only intelligent life forms on Earth. Now, when we think the word aliens, first thing jumps into mind is any Hollywood representation of little green men, big black insects, something like that. But if you look at it from a strictly scientific standpoint, if you find protozoa, microscopic bacteria in the water, technically that is life.
Yeah.
That is an alien.
Yeah.
Now it's not a 6 foot tall, brain muncher shooting out of the
Yeah,
mouth
yeah, for sure.
like we think. But no, man, it's I gotta believe that there's an intelligent life out there. And you use a couple different theories. People can say, well, why have we never seen one after all this time? Think about an ant in the jungle, let's say in the Amazonian rainforest, all right? Not a whole lot of people in the rainforest, but we know there's indigenous tribes and there's explorers and companies going out there all the time. What do you think the odds of one ant in the rainforest are to ever run across a human? We share the same planet with
yeah.
them. What's the odds of that one ant ever going to see a human in its lifetime? Slim to none.
None, yeah.
So kind of extrapolate the same theory to what we're talking about here.
The vastness.
There's so many planets, so many galaxies, so much untouched area out there. They could be there and we don't know.
Yeah.
We just saw the U.S. Navy declassified a true UFO, and what that UFO was, we don't know.
Right.
But you saw they declassified, said, hey, there's something out there.
Yeah.
So it's kind of where I stand on that.
Awesome. I think that's
Open-minded, you got to be open-minded to the possibilities.
absolutely. I think the vastness of our universe probably just to me it's almost uncomprehendable. I mean, it is pretty much uncomprehendable for telescopes, but for a human to sit there, like I've been to the planetarium in Houston and sat there through the Observable Universe that was narrated by Tom Hanks. It's actually really good, and it's not comprehensible. It doesn't register in my brain as this is how big we are.
See, I have that same effect, and I try to present that to my daughters sometimes to kind of really get their brain juices flowing. I tell them sometimes, look up at the sky. See the moon up there, right? Yeah. I said, okay, now think about this. We put a man on the moon. We flew a rocket up there and landed it on the moon. How did we do that? There's no tangible measurement. You can't pull out your tape measure. You can't take a ruler. You can't drag anything with you. There's no way to know how far that is. So through theoretical mathematics, these people were so smart, they were able to, it's about that far. We're going to drop a rocket right. I mean, think about how incredible that is.
Good point.
So it just shows you how small we can be when you really start thinking about the grand design of things.
What about under the ocean?
Under the ocean, same thing. I mean, we've explored maybe 30%, 25% of the Earth's oceans.
Yeah.
70% of our planet is completely engulfed in water. We can only reach so far with the greatest submarines and unmanned that we send down there. Who knows what's down there? We find new life, new creatures down there all the time. You find creatures that thrive in the underwater volcanic activity off the coast of Hawaii.
Yeah.
You find the anglerfish and other crazy fish that live down where there's no light, no heat, no oxygen down that far, but yet life will always find a way.
Yeah.
And it kind of goes back to that alien standpoint. Something as complex and as beautiful as life is on all different levels. I just can't believe that was just a slip up, some big bang. I don't buy it, man. Something was guiding that. Something as beautiful as life, something guided that. Something put measures into place to make sure life will always find a way.
Very well articulated. I'm sure I have some fans out there that are going to thank you and thank me because, man, it's never been explained so thoroughly and so interesting on my show or in person. It's hard to get a real, theory from people that really makes sense sometimes. So it's not easy to do, and that was good. Thanks.
All right.
So what I'm going to ask you next is Lil Dave.
Lil Dave.
Lil Dave was coming up.
As my buddy Kevin Harris called me, Firecracker. Okay.
Firecracker.
Little Dynamite, Firecracker.
Yep. So when you were running around out on the ball fields, what was your favorite sport to play? What did you play the most, and what was the one thing? What was your favorite sport to play, and what did you put the most time into to learning how to play?
Favorite sport to play was football when I was younger. Now in Tangipahoa Parish, where I come from, South Louisiana, it's not a whole lot as far as boys volleyball.
Right.
Girls play volleyball.
Right.
Well, when I hit around 18, 19 years old, I started learning how to play beach volleyball. The beaches in Biloxi, Gulf Shores, traveling around. So as far as putting the most work in and really learning how to play and get pretty decent at it when I was a younger man was volleyball. Love volleyball, man. Still to this day, have a big passion for it. Really enjoy coaching my daughters and other little girls into it. Now, unlike a lot of you guys, study. There wasn't any volleyball in high school where I went to high school, Ponchatoula, Tangipahoa Parish, that area. So you had to go to the beach and get out there with those guys and let them beat on you a little while and kind of get your cardio up, learn the sport. It's hard playing in the sand, man, 2-on-2, 3-on-3. Learned that, got pretty decent at it. Then as I got a little older, got the opportunity to play competitive 6-on-6. Then that's inside of a gym with air conditioning. Whole nother world, man, whole nother world. But yeah, fell in love with volleyball, love the pace of it. Very aggressive game, man. And it's two people working. You got to work as a cohesive unit. I mean, when you're doing 2-on-2, 3-on-3, a lot of anticipation before the reaction. You got to know what your partner's going to do and make that quick reaction to it.
Absolutely, yeah. I enjoy playing beach volleyball. That's something that I'll plan on maybe putting out here one day, is some sand pits to train my athletes. But I also like to put a volleyball net to get some beach volleyball in. If we had a beach volleyball set up out here, would you come over here and play with me?
Oh, Dynamite would come over here in Harvey, man. Bump, set, spike, driving it down the throat, Spalding tattoo across the chest.
Yeah.
We're going to do it, man. Big time. Big time.
Awesome, man. Thank you for that. We're going to make that happen. All right. So now I'm going to ask you a question.
And I'm going to try to give you an answer.
All right, cool. So this is my favorite question. And it's actually Lacey's favorite question.
Your what?
My fiance.
Ah, there we go.
Yeah, so that felt good, you know. I had a blooper a little while ago where we talked about Lacey being my girlfriend. Now she's my fiance. Thank you, Lacey, for everything that you do for us. Shed Talk wouldn't be what it is without you, and we're very excited about everything that's going to move forward. I have an announcement to make at the end of the show, so stay tuned. All right, so I'm going to ask you a question. All right, so mentally, spiritually, and physically, something that Dynamite does, something that you gotta have, something that you can't go without for you to be Dynamite. What's one thing that you gotta go with?
Well, one, music. Man, music with me is just a window, a portal to the soul.
Yeah.
Music can bring out so much emotion, man. Whenever I'm sad, I'm down, the right motivational music can pick me up. When I'm just aggravated, angry, need to calm down, the right music can really calm you down, get you ready. You know, we were talking about a little bit of pro wrestling. We like pro wrestling, this, that, and the other. Case in point, man, I was watching the documentary on The Undertaker retiring.
Oh, yeah.
And I was doing pretty good. My kids were ready for it. They were laughing at me. When they got to the last episode, chapter 5, they started playing Troubadour by George Strait, and you knew he was done. He was riding off into the sunset. Oh man, choked me up, just tears pouring down my face.
That's amazing.
Because again, you see the emotion of somebody who's given his life to that business, to that sport, to entertain the fans. He's reaped the rewards from it. Man, the hard work and the up and down the road, the beating and banging on your body, everything those guys do. And I mean, he did it the right way. So to me, that was a character that I grew up watching, enjoying, entertaining me. And it's kind of emotional to see him go, man.
Yeah.
I did the same thing when Ric Flair retired at WrestleMania 24. Oh yeah, I cried like a baby.
Yeah, man. That's awesome.
I can watch Rocky right now. You can ask my daughter Kinsley, my oldest. I can put in Rocky 1, 2, or 3 right now, know them verbatim, word for word. I've seen them so many times, and I will cry at some point in time during Rocky. Rocky makes me cry.
Rocky's amazing.
Rocky makes me cry.
I totally understand that. That's one of the movies I watched as a kid. I watched the whole series, or all 5, 6 now, or 7 now. I think.
There's a bunch.
Yeah, I watched,
with the 2 creeds.
I watched for sure all 5 of them when I was like on VHS. I had them all in a set, and I spent a lot of time as a kid watching Rocky and
look at how you turned out. Ladies and gentlemen, want some free parenting techniques from old Dynamite? Get Rocky, let your kids watch it, and watch them grow.
That's right. Yeah, I appreciate that. Thank you. All right. What's next for Dynamite? What kind of shows do you have coming up? What's the next on the list for old Dynamite?
Well, right now, man, things are the water's kind of choppy out there. It's hard to navigate, staying between the navigational beacons right now because so much unsurety behind the COVID regulations and what's going on with our different governments and different states. With me, I'm always looking to move on to the next thing because at a certain point in time, you got to realize with your career, you painted yourself in a corner. I like to consider myself more of an entertainer than just an announcer, and I've always felt that way. Now, that is my passion. I love being the ring announcer, but I want to take this as far as I can, man. If I can go and be some type of a nationally known or worldwide known announcer, I'd love to get there. But the big drawback to that is There's only so many jobs, man. There's only 5 to 10 jobs in the whole world where you can go and be that kind of announcer to where you're making enough money to do it for a living, the promotion you work for is big enough to pay you that kind of money, and you're getting that national TV notoriety and that kind of stuff. All those spots are taken, and those guys aren't going away anytime soon. So you've got to come to the realization that, hey, this probably is as big as it's going to get for you. So I try to take every opportunity I can as far as doing cage-side commentary, play-by-play, backstage, interviews, things like that. I try to do that as much to show how versatile I am, that yeah, I can do so much more. I mean, there's nothing I can't do with a camera, there's nothing I can't do with a microphone. I've been lucky enough to be in a movie, a couple television shows. I mean, just give me the chance and I can do it.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking if I'm gonna keep climbing that ladder of success, quote unquote, whatever that may be, then yeah, I've got to start branching out a little bit, and hopefully I'll find those opportunities.
Yeah, absolutely, man. Speaking of kind of, so let's make Dynamite an opportunity. There are promotions out there that need a commentator and a ring announcer, and it needs to be streamed live on pay-per-view. That way, like we talked about probably during the blooper was, having guys from other states come and fight in our promotions because they know they can have it watched on pay-per-view. So having that Flow Combat, that Fight TV app, might be an avenue if pushed properly and sold properly, marketed properly. You could have a job that's created for a guy like you with as much talent that, coupled with the experience of a UFC guy, say a Dustin Poirier or a Matt Schnell, and have some real reality, not just a reality show, like some reality fights, sports. And
the few times I've done it, it's been a lot of fun. I'll say Danger and I working together at AKA, American Combat Alliance, on Flow Combat. Yep. It's so easy for me because, man, I can talk. Yeah. So I can paint that picture, give you the play-by-play, explain what you're seeing going on in front of you. But like I told you before, old Dynamite, I can't fight my way out of a wet paper bag. So I don't know a whole lot as far as what you guys do with technique, this, that, and the other. But being able to throw my lack of knowledge on the shoulders of a fighter, especially somebody like Danger, man. For me to work with Matt Schnell, that was so awesome.
Man, that's a goal to have, man.
But yeah, I throw my lack of knowledge to him, and then he's able to answer those questions. And for the fans at home, they're getting the whole experience. I'm keeping the energy up, the pace of the fight, painting that picture. He's answering all the questions, telling you what's coming from these fighters. Why is the elbow here? Why is the hand placed there? And it just made for such a good pairing right there, man. Really enjoyed that.
That's awesome. And I would keep your eyes and your ears open and keep your mouth talking about opportunities like that, because somebody's going to get a deal. Somebody's going to get a steal on old Dynamite, and you're going to reap the rewards as well as them. So somebody has to take advantage of the talent that, is in this region. And, all the fighters that I've been having on the show are just super amazing people and have great stories. And I'm very blessed to be able to at least help them say something about themselves, and my goal is to make everybody make their reality known. I want people to be able to manifest what they want, or talk about things that their experiences that have affected their life in a positive direction. I want to hear those things to where it brings more interest to me, that person, and the people watching. They kind of get a relationship with,
And that's a great thing we do down here in the Gulf Coast region, man. We complement each other in this business so much. It's almost like a family. You see fighters, training with other fighters, buying other fighters' shirts. You see us helping guys get on other cards. And look, I guess maybe some unsung heroes that we really don't talk a whole lot about in the business, but man, that's promoters. That's guys like Joe Ancona and Tim Crater with Bayou Fighting Championship, Amber and John Bishop with AKA, Glenn Matina and Dawn Matina with Atlas Fights, James Sharp, Aaron Williams, Gulf Coast MMA, and so many others. I don't want to leave anybody out, I know I am. But they put up a lot of financial risk to put on these shows. Look, even a small regional show, tens of thousands of dollars to produce, and there's no money really to be made. Look, if these guys walk out with enough money to, have enough to get the next one going without breaking the bank, they've done well. There's not a lot of money at this level for anybody. The pro fighters, myself, the promoters. It's really an opportunity for guys like you to enter the business, cut your teeth, hone your craft.